Hi, I'm Dr. Mike, and this is NFGeeks. Well, this video is a Thursday theme video. Every Thursday on the NFGeeks Facebook forum, I post a video based on a specific theme and encourage other members to make their own videos based on a theme. And this video is great for the day, the type of day it is in New England. It's a very dreary, rainy, gray day in New England today. And what I want to talk about is loneliness. I want to talk about the experience of loneliness and how it relates to type, or at least how it relates to me as an ENFP. And the reason for this is the other day, like a day or two ago, I was having an NF dream. This is something that came up on the forum. Are dreams related to your type? I think so, because I have NF dreams all day long. So I was having this NF dream where I was reunited with a former lover, and whatever between us was reconciled, and we were sort of back being lovers again. And you could interpret that any way you'd like, but but it may not be what you think, But anyway, it was a very, very beautiful dream. But then I woke up at like 5:30 in the morning from it, and realized it wasn't real at all. It was real in the dream world, but it wasn't real in this world. And I was so bummed. Like, the first experience was, damn, that's too bad. That was really good. And then, because it's early in the morning, when you wake up from a dream or something, at least for me, you wake up early in the morning, it's hard to kind of go back to sleep, because it's almost close to when you should wake up. And so I was kind of awake for a while in bed, and I really kind of felt the loneliness of it, just being alone in bed, and it's dark, and just kind of feeling it, like really feeling the loneliness. And I thought, well, this is a good topic to talk about loneliness. Because there's a couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, there's a difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Okay, they're not the same thing. Being alone is just the absence of people. Feeling lonely is feeling disconnected from others, or people not wanting to be connected with you. And it doesn't matter whether that's the reality. That doesn't matter. What matters is the experience of it. That's the experience of loneliness. And I think that's the mistake we make, is that one is the other, and we should be fine because we can be fine with one. We should be fine with the other. There's always this video that gets posted on NFGeeks every now and then. It's about someone talking about all the cool things you can do when you're alone and how awesome it is to be alone. I think she's the woman. I think she's an INFP, if I had to peg it. And it's this list she goes through, and the introverts go in and say, yeah, that'd be great, and I would love to do this. And I always say, this is the stuff of ENFP nightmares, that she wants. Like, one is eating in a restaurant by yourself. I'll be damned. If I'm going to go into a restaurant, I don't even like going to fast food places where you could just spend 15 minutes eating, a burger and some fries and get the hell out of there. I don't even like doing that, let alone having a full-blown restaurant stuff. And nothing is more miserable than going to the movies by yourself. I would never do that. I did it once to see Star Trek 3. I was like 15. I took a bus. I didn't want to miss it. So I took a bus to the theater, and I saw Star Trek 3 by myself. And Star Trek 3 is the gloomiest of the old Star Trek movies. And I'll never do it again, But I think that's the difference, about, I think, an extrovert. I don't know. I don't know what the other extroverts feel. I know that I feel as an extrovert loneliness, certainly when I'm not connected with others. But you can have loneliness in a crowd. That's the thing you need to think about too. You can be around people. I guess that's the thing I'm trying to say between alone and loneliness, is that you can be in a whole group of people. You could be in a crowd and still feel very, very lonely. Okay. That's one of the reasons why I talk about my family. So let me start off with that. My SJ family weren't that bad. I kind of give them a hard time. Obviously everybody had jobs and they went to work, and I lived in a house, and it wasn't horrible like that. The basic things that SJs can do, they did well, and it was all there. But again, the real issue is that as an NF in an SJ home, they did not understand me at all. Everything was sort of interpreted as a rebellion. against whatever was going on, even if I was just crying. So I felt very alone in my SJ family. That was the real bad thing about it. And it's not them. They didn't know. They didn't get it. They weren't, trying to make that happen. And again, they're SJs together, so it all seems right to them. So they don't know what my problem is. But I felt very alone. A lot of loneliness in the family because I wasn't connected to anybody. So I would often feel very lonely doing things. And here's the irony about feeling lonely with them is that, SJs do things together, and the center personality, doing the assessment of my family was ESFJ, which was my mother's personality, which is very much we do things together. So, it was very rare that any of us were left to our devices while the group was doing something, unless it had to be, or there was a fight or something, but it was very much inclusive in that sense. And so I was dragged everywhere, okay? I was dragged everywhere they went. I was dragged too. I mean, I was made to go. But in that, it was a very lonely experience. I don't have any sort of memories, certainly emotional memories of being connected to any of them in those moments. Always feeling very, very lonely. And even though I'm literally in a car with, 5 people, I'm one of 5 people in a car sitting like literally, thigh to thigh with somebody, whomever, but I'm still feeling rather lonely. In the whole experience. I spent a lot of time looking out the window. I remember being on, I've never said this out loud, this is funny, it's not that bad, but it just occurred to me, I've never told this. I remember, like if we were on the highway, I'd want to sit near the window, and if we were on a highway, I would look out the window, and I wondered what it would look like if there was like a spaceship just hovering above not a big one, like a small one, like a model of a spaceship hovering above the highway at the same speed as the car flying with us, and what would it have to dodge, and would it be able to stay with the line? Just sort of imagining that there was something with us, flying with us, that I had to literally, my consciousness of my imagination had to go outside the car, onto the highway. That's how lonely it was, So it's so I think a lot of it comes from that. First of all, a lot of my thoughts and feelings about it comes from a very lonely experience in childhood. And the thing about it is that it's not that everyone was trying to make me lonely. I don't think anybody was trying to make me lonely. They were just trying to be their SJ selves, and they didn't get it. They didn't even they thought I was a freak show. So I mean, they didn't they weren't trying to make me miserable, and they weren't excluding me. I mean, in their mind, they thought, what's this kid's problem? We're going here, we're taking him with us. What's the big deal? They didn't see it. So there's that aspect of it from childhood. I find that loneliness now as an adult it's kind of interesting because there's both a fear and a shame connected to it, for me. Part of the fear is that this real fear of it being a static state, meaning a permanent state, that there's always this fear of the cat lady stuff, the fear of that. But honestly, I don't see a lot of cat ladies. I see a lot of guys my age and older going to supermarkets with baskets and filling it with canned goods. You know what I mean? And that's a guy who doesn't know how to cook, and he's got nobody in his life, and he's just alone somewhere in the universe. I see that. It doesn't seem lonely. I don't know. I go the other way. I don't even want to see it. I just go. Thank God I'm with Noah during those times. But that's one of the fears, the fear of loneliness as a permanent thing, as I get older and older and older. And the shame of it is that I shouldn't feel that way. Because I'm an adult and I'm middle-aged. I mean, I really should have my mind together on these things, right? I mean, who talks about these silly things, let alone on YouTube? I really should have this thing. So I feel ashamed for feeling lonely, And it's in weird places too, like, because I've talked about it with a few people, NFGeeks is this weird sort of mass connection with people and yet lonely at the same time, because I'm sort of in the middle of it and nobody is with me in the middle of it exactly, and so I don't have the same experience as anybody. I don't get to play along like everybody. I don't get to even, do the things that everybody does. So I'm sort of like in the middle of it, but I can't participate in it at the same time, so that's a weird sort of loneliness that connects to it. I think, so how does this relate to ENFP? And they'll see if we can relate this out beyond that. I think, ENFPs, I think the validation thing kicks in with this, okay? That, and this is, again, very common, very known about ENFPs, that we need affirmation. And we do, and the reason why we need affirmation is that we see it as a connection with others. The affirmation is a reassurance that the relationship is there, that everything is going fine, and that we're doing a good job, and that we're connected. And because that's what we're trying to do with them. We're trying to let them know, hey, you're doing a good job. Don't go anywhere. It's still always about connection. So I think the lack of affirmation becomes a fear of loneliness. Because if you're not affirming me, then you don't like me. And if you don't, and again, this isn't necessarily true. This is sort of a process that goes on that is, sometimes true, sometimes irrational. But it's the idea that I'm not being affirmed. And because I'm not being affirmed, you don't like me. Otherwise, you would affirm me. And that means the relationship is in trouble of some kind, and I'm going to be left alone. And that's one of the horrible things of being alone, is that there's this emptiness that isn't affirming anything good, and that leaves plenty of room for all the bad stuff to come in the loneliness, the negative thoughts of, well, of course you should be alone, and you're feeling lonely because no one's connecting to you, and no one's connecting to you because you're an idiot, and no kidding, that stuff comes in. So I think some of the affirmation is meant to thwart the loneliness, not so much being alone, but the loneliness, okay? Because I can tell you, as an ENFP, just not being affirmed, and it doesn't have to be being insulted, just nothing coming in, either way, affirming or unaffirming or whatever, just nothing, blank in the middle, it's not too good. It does feel disconnected, and it does feel lonely. You get a lonely feel to it, And that's something weird, too. There's something ENFP about, the strange. I've said this before, but this is where the loneliness comes in, because this ties into teaching too. See, everything is like this with me, and that is the thing with the ENFPs, is that everybody loves us, but nobody loves us, and the other ENFPs get that. The other times like, what do you mean? But I say it to other ENFPs, they're all like, oh, no shit, huh? They say it, and what it means is that everybody thinks we're fascinating, and they pay all the attention, and they love the ENFP show, and what's not the love, right? But in the end, do we really have anybody really in our corner that we can call our own? We can call this vast amount of people ours, but do we have anybody to call our own? And the answer a lot of times is no, and that's the weird thing that happens, and that's where it feels very lonely to be ENFP, because even though you're surrounded by people, you're also like in a little bubble where nobody's in there but you, And so it's this weird sensation. So I definitely have it in NFGeeks. That's obvious. But I also have it teaching. In teaching, I don't have any like close relationships in teaching. I have relationships with the students. I know who they are. We work together. Blah blah blah. But it's still like my experience and their experience isn't the same. It's still not the same. It's still like a disconnect that leads to loneliness. They all go off by their, they leave class and they go with their friends and they go meet themselves, and I go sit in a corner and have lunch. I'm the reality of my existence as being lonely, returns, all the time. So I think that's what loneliness is kind of like for ENFP. It's that lack of affirmation. That happens, or the affirmation is a way of making sure loneliness is not about to come in, and kick in with the ENFP. I think different NFs feel lonely. I don't think introverts are happy with loneliness. Okay, let's get to that for a minute, because I don't find that the INFs are particularly happy about loneliness. They don't mind being alone, but it's not. There's that difference. Let's take INFPs, for example. INFPs, I find, are, they don't like big crowds, but they don't like being alone. They like to be connected to somebody. They like to be in a relationship with somebody. They don't like necessarily be alone. They're not that way. That doesn't mean they don't mind having alone time. Well, of course they do. But that kind of loneliness, I do think they don't like either, and they do thwart to get it. I think the loneliness deeply hurts them, probably more than anyone else, and that's why they act the way they act, to get out of loneliness. Not necessarily a bad way. I mean, to have like a relationship with somebody. Okay, I don't know that I know any INFPs that are single. When I really think about it, there's more single INFP guys than INFP women. But most INFPs I know are in a relationship. If I had to say, which way it goes in terms of a relationship. INFJs, I think, feel lonely in that they're in this weird place that nobody understands and nobody gets, and even when they try to explain it, it's still not gotten. They get it out of there. They try to make that expression out, but it doesn't go. It doesn't happen. They can't get there. They try, but they can't get there. And I think that really becomes difficult for them, that they become trapped in their own INFJ consciousness. A lot of INFJs I know talk about the loneliness that way, even though they need to be away from people and go into the INFJ cave and I don't know, see their spirit animal or whatever. But in spite of that, they definitely talk about a deep loneliness, a very serious loneliness, that really bothers them because it's really sort of isolating for them. They're very much sort of trapped down there. It's like being trapped in a coal mine. That's how it sort of sounds to me when they talk about it. And they can call up for help. I mean, there's vents and things, but nobody understands. Nobody understands up and above, and nobody can go down to get them. That's the way it sounds to me when INFJs talk. The one that I don't know that they experience loneliness, but I don't know if I've directly heard them talk about it, and that's the ENFJ. I think they've had some experiences with it. I mean, it's not crazy, to say that it's easy for them, but still, they must have ENFJs, must have some kind of loneliness thing going on, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's hard to pinpoint for me. I guess because my interactions with them are very, they don't seem very lonely when I see them. When I see them, they seem like they're just steamrolling all the time, and they have lots of people, and they're talking to lots of people, That's how I think it goes around with NF anyway. And again, I think what makes it terrible for NF, because NF is all about connection. Okay, NF is all about personal connection with people, deep connection with people. We want to have deep connections with as many people as we can, or as deep as we can with a few people, but still, connection is what we're all about, all four of us, And so when it's not there, that disconnect, by God, it gets bad, I have to say. It gets bad. A lot of NF depression, I think, circles around that loneliness, or is fed by that loneliness. And I know that's true about everyone else. Loneliness doesn't help. But since human connection is so important to us, it gets really bad. Like, for example, one thing that happens that NFs talk about all the time is that, that we're desperate for people to connect with us the way we connect with them. We're desperate. I've said this before. We're desperate to have people reach into us the way we're reaching into them. We want to have the same connection that we're trying to go out with towards them, and it never comes. We can do it to them, but they can't come and do it to us. Or if they can, the best they can do is go halfway, or maybe not even, go that distance. We want them to desperately, but they can. That makes us feel very lonely, a strong sense of loneliness, in life. Now, I don't know if there's anything to be done about it. I don't know, because part of me also thinks, and this is my age too, is that, loneliness is part of life, and you need to bear burdens. That's one of the things that's kind of come up with me, as I get older, is that burdens are not to be shed, you know what I mean? Or burdens may not be able to be shed. This is what I've been trying to talk about with limitations until my tongue falls out of my mouth. But burdens, I think, sometimes are just meant to be carried. Here's this burden, you carry your burden, that's that. Okay, and I think loneliness is one of those things. That even though it's horrible and it feels disconnected, and all sorts of negative thoughts come out of that, like, why doesn't anybody want to play with me? What's wrong with me? Why doesn't anybody want to play? I don't know why. Why do I have to sit here by myself, in a crowded room? It's terrible, but sometimes you have to sort of, there's nothing you can do about it, at least in the moment, and you have to sort of accept the loneliness and accept that it's happening and let it happen. Let the feelings happen. That's what I did the other day with it too. Like, my first experience was like, what a stinkeroo this is. Just being lonely, like, oh God, laid in bed about it. But I did kind of get to that point. I said, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to get up. I'm going to get in the car. I'm going to go find somebody to talk to. I mean, what am I going to do? How am I going to, I'm going to do something irrational to get rid of this loneliness. So what I really need to do is just go back to sleep, or just lay in bed and, and then go about my life. And stop wallowing in it, or just acknowledge that it's taking place. And I don't think there's anything wrong acknowledging that it's taking place. So that's it. That's my my video about loneliness. Again, I think just being an NF makes it difficult. It's difficult for NFs because we want connection. That doesn't mean it's not difficult for the other types. I'm talking about why it's difficult for us, and it's difficult for us because we want that connection so badly, with another person. And when we don't get it, that separation of feeling alone and being disconnected and not either being liked or with people, that there's something wrong with us, and that's why we're not with people, which is terrible because we want to be with people so desperately. I think that gets to us, and certainly gets to me, sometimes. And then there's the ENFP experience of sort of, again, everyone loves us, nobody loves us. It's that weird sort of, Taoist reversal of opposites thing that happens. All right, so that's it. That's my video on loneliness. And, those of you at NFGeeks or not, just following the channel, go ahead and make your videos. Before I go, I want to do some announcements about NFGeeks. First of all, new NFGeeks videos are going to be on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock. I'm going to try to have them on a specific day and time, so every Tuesday night at 8. Hopefully they'll be up right at 8. But if not, after 8 o'clock on Tuesday nights, you can expect new NFGeeks videos starting this Tuesday. Got new videos with Josh. Oh yeah, and see, now everyone's waiting. But new videos with Josh coming up on Tuesday night. Okay, and Ask Dr. Mike's will be on Tuesday, and maybe even videos like this will be on Tuesday. But certainly any new regular NFGeeks videos will be on Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock, or at least after 8 o'clock, assuming I can figure this out the right way. Also, NFGeeks is back on Twitter, so follow us on Twitter, so you can see what's going on. You can hear all the genius of NFGeeks on Twitter, and NFGeeks is on Tumblr. So look for that, and you'll see all the NFGeeks memes that are made. Hopefully that'll be one thing that'll be on the Tumblr. So NFGeeks is taking it up a notch. So again, Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock, new videos. Starting with Josh. Okay, he's excited. I told him this. So there's that. Twitter and Tumblr. Check us out. And NFGeeks is expanding. Get on board. And experience it, because NFGeeks, that's where it's happening. It's happening at NFGeeks. Yes, it is. If there's some place it's happening, it's NFGeeks. So you don't want to miss out on it happening. So join up. And of course, join up on the Facebook forum to join in the discussion. NFGeeks discussion group forum. And it's a terrible name. I didn't know. I was just sort of trying, and that became the name. And I don't even want to talk about it. But anyway, that's what it is on Facebook. So check it out, the NFGeeks discussion group, and on Facebook, and join in the fun there too. So I hope to see you in all those places, here, Twitter, Tumblr, and at the Facebook forum. All right, and don't forget, it's happening.